Right, thanks everyone again for joining us for another West Coast Sounds podcast. This time I'm with Jason, Rees and Max of a band called Chewy Lucas. How's everybody doing?
Doing great.
Doing good.
Brilliant.
Doing just phenomenal.
Excellent. All right then, so we'll start with Max and I'll ask the question, which is where did it all start for you musically then?
For me personally, musically, I just kind of started me like in eighth grade messing around with my mom's iPad on GarageBand, and it just kind of progressed to like learning instruments and stuff. So it took me a while to like get to where I am, obviously, musically. But yeah, I've been around music my whole life, like looking at artists, being like, oh, I want to do that. I wish I could do that. Yeah. But yeah, pretty much just progressing all the way through for all these years.
Brilliant. What about Jason then?
I got my first Yamaha keyboard when I was like 4 or 5 years old. Just remember messing around on that thing, just making sounds. Really couldn't really do anything, musically from there. My mother put me into piano lessons, which I didn't really like very much, but it was a good base, I guess, to kind of understand music at its basic sense. From there, I've always been a fan of rock music my whole life, so I wanted to play guitar naturally, like everyone who's a fan of rock does, and that kind of took me in a different direction, less classical piano stuff to more stuff I was hearing on the radio or stuff I was listening to on my CDs. Started playing a lot of rock music, a lot of grunge, and then from there started joining small high school bands and stupid stuff like that. But it's all just the building blocks to where I am today. Just writing songs and progressing as a songwriter through there.
Brilliant. What about yourself, Rees?
It started way back. I had a piano in my playroom, and then I would kind of do the same thing as Jason, banging on the keys, and then my parents didn't pick up that I wanted to play. So I didn't really start until I heard my dad play the opening chords for Wish You Were Here, Pink Floyd. Yep, I had an acoustic in my basement. He just picked it up one day and he played it. He didn't play it good, but he indeed played it, and I knew right then I wanted to play. But then my mom sold a guitar next week on Craigslist, so it was in the back of my head always. And then I got a guitar, my first one, when I was 15, and then 14 years old, and then that's really where it started for me.
Brilliant. Okay. Yeah, we'll just say at this point, people can hear a dog barking. That's Max's dog apparently upstairs. Is that right, Max?
Yeah, that's so my parents' dog, Gucci.
Okay. And does it constantly bark then?
Yeah, it does. Even at nothing. Sometimes it sounds like sometimes it sounds like a human going like, woo! It's really so that's not a person. I'm alone in this house right now.
Okay, brilliant. So, looking at the name of your band, Chewy Lucas. Now, I'm going to read between the lines here. So, I reckon it's a Star Warsy type name. Is that right?
We get that.
I knew it.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, it actually has nothing to do with Star Wars.
Really?
After the fact, we realized, okay, yeah, it's like Chewbacca and George Lucas, but yeah, it has absolutely nothing to do with that, really.
So why Chewy Lucas then?
So one of my roommates in college, he was on the rugby team, and there was a buddy on his team named Chewy. And there was this story of someone coming to the door when he was at his house, and the guy was asking for someone named Lucas, and my roommate had no idea who that was, and was running around the house asking, who's Lucas, and finally found out this guy they were calling Chewy the whole time. His real name is Lucas, and he was telling us this story one night. And we heard those two words together, Chewy and Lucas. He was saying them the other way around. And we were like, that's a really cool name when you put it together. Chewy Lucas is really unique. Yeah. So it stayed from there. Yeah.
Fair play. So Max, how would you describe the sort of music that you play then?
I'd say it's fluid because it's not really the same. I mean, when you look at the songs we have out right now, I got like a couple acoustic sounding songs like Beatlesy vibe, and then like some indie pop, and then a little bit of punk and grunge, and then there's our song "Gone Fishing," which I don't even know what it is. It's just it exists.
Yeah.
Fair play. So let's Jason and Rees, you know, who are your influences then?
I can go first, Jason. Yeah,
for me, I started off really listening to grunge heavily. That was the first love of mine, for musically at least. Always been around the rock range, but grunge is, I have a lot of influence. Nirvana, Pearl Jam, Soundgarden, Chris Cornell, really, all of his projects, and a lot of more recent stuff. I'm influenced by a lot of, like, I guess, jammier indie rock. And Radiohead's one of my favorite bands, one of my biggest influences. Tom York in general, all of his projects. But yeah, rooted in grunge for me.
For me, it would have to be, I don't want to sound basic, but Led Zeppelin I grew up on because my parents, and another big one is Stevie Ray Vaughan. Nobody can play guitar like Stevie, and that's really something that I gotta look up to. But Nirvana, of course, Kurt Cobain. Also New Order, Joy Division, whatever have you. Those are some big influences in my playing. Yeah, that's a big influence for me.
Okay. What about yourself, Max?
Pretty much, I'm always influenced by, like, what I'm listening to whenever I'm writing. So, like, it'll even be, especially bands right now, like, even like I'll be listening to, like, King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard, and I just make, like, this heavy psych song or something. And then, but my main influence that will always influence me for all time would be the Beatles. That's the one thing I would say is my all-time influence. I don't really know of anything else besides what I'm listening to that week.
Fair play. Fair play. Surprising that, the amount of guys and women I've interviewed on West Kerno Sounds, and they stipulate the Beatles as being the biggest influence. It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. Yeah. So who's the main songwriter in the group then?
We would say Max.
Yeah, Max.
Yeah, Max is.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Question for Max then. So what typically for you, how does a song start? Can you take us through your process?
I don't know, because I really do it differently way too much. I'll, like, head on Pro Tools or something, make a loop or like a riff or something, like, oh, I can sing over that, I can just do it. Or sometimes it's me just sitting down with the guitar and then it just flows right through the whole thing. But yeah, I don't really have anything really special I do about songwriting. It just really comes randomly, and it's just, I really don't even think about it too much. But actually, well, what I put the most thought into is probably my lyrics, because I'm really like stingy about lyrics. Like, sometimes when I get suggested lyrics to me, like, I'll be like, no, and I'm like, no, I can't do that. Sound basic, because I don't really like the basic lyrics. I'm really annoying about that.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So what's the because you guys are from Detroit, so what's the Jason and Rees, what's the the music scene like in Detroit?
I mean,
yeah,
it's not as spectacular as some would seem. I mean, with COVID, it's been really weird. So we've only been a band for a little over a year. As soon as we started becoming a band, COVID hit. So we haven't had a lot of time to really explore scenes anywhere around Michigan. Yeah. Until almost recently, there hasn't been a lot of shows. And even now, there's not a lot of opportunities to play. That's something, we're working on getting into scenes around Detroit, around the Lansing area,
East
Mount
Lansing,
Pleasant. Yeah. All the way up kind of to mid-Michigan. Yeah, we haven't really been around much with COVID.
Yeah, not much of a music scene at all. I mean, we had to travel for a concert, 7 hours round trip this Sunday
down to Ohio. Yeah,
we wanted to go to a show. It was a tabled show, seated, so it was all COVID friendly. But we had to travel 7 hours away to see a band. It's not much of a music scene in Detroit. We wish there was. It's more mid-Michigan, like Lansing, Midland area.
Okay, yeah, got you now. So, lockdown wise. Max, how did it? I mean, we obviously know with lockdown, bands couldn't rehearse together and that sort of stuff. How did it affect you then musically as a band, apart from the fact you couldn't rehearse?
me and Jason, we did try like writing some stuff together over FaceTime during quarantine, like when we were just all totally isolated from each other, and we just made the dumbest songs ever. It's just we had a few songs that were just like just gibberish, just made no sense. We had a song that was just saying goodnight to Rees for like 5 minutes. And we thought we were gonna like, oh, we're gonna release it on an album without telling him. It just never happened. But yeah, I mean, we were able to get like a couple songs like prepared and written like that were decent. I know You Never Know was written over COVID. So was Meat Mouth, and
the whole upcoming album we have coming out too was written pretty much all
a
good chunk of it.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So when you mentioned the album, so when is it coming out, and future plans?
Well, we're doing something really cool with this next release. What we want to do is have a new song come out every Friday for 2 whole months. Wow. And at the end of those 2 months, it'll be a compiled album with a couple other songs thrown in there at the end of the release. It's something we're currently working on. We're recording it all from home, independently. So we have a good groundwork for a lot of the songs. We're still going through and have to do overdubs and vocals and really go through and set it all up. But we're probably looking sometime in the fall for that to come out, and then it'll start doing its weekly release. But we thought it'd be a really cool marketing idea, because nowadays, especially with our culture, everyone's listening to stuff so fast, and there's not a lot of people really listening to full-length albums. I know we do. It's something
tiny. Yeah.
It's something we like to do is listen to albums, but we got to face it. A lot of people won't listen to the whole thing, or if they do, they'll listen to it once and kind of leave it. So we thought it'd be a really cool idea to say, hey, every Friday, look out for us. We're going to have a new song coming out. Look out for that song. Maybe they'll fall in love with that one single, or maybe they'll listen to the full album afterwards. But it's something we want to kind of spark, an interest in our upcoming album.
It's just gonna kind of bring like more attention to each song individually, rather than having it buried in an album. Because like when it comes to like newer artists and like you just throw a bunch of songs at someone at once, it can be a little overwhelming.
Yes.
I'm not having all of the singles. Yeah.
Yeah. So each single will have its own album arts, and then the album will have its own as well. But they'll all kind of go together. So it's going to be kind of an art piece as well as musically. Kind of things separating that come together.
Okay. I'm assuming then they're going to be put out on all the social media sites. Is that what you're doing?
Yep.
Okay. Brilliant. So have you got any plans to do any live shows, or are you going to be too busy doing this concept?
Well, Jason just got a gig at Sweetwater for a sound engineer. So he's going to be working there, but he still has weekends. So Max Bar in Lansing is open. I've been in contact with them. Hopefully we can get a gig there soon. There are also a lot of other small spots, just like 20-person places in East Lansing that we could go to. For Detroit, though, I mean, we don't have any really gigs planned as of now, per se, because we just finished up our semester of college. I just graduated. So, we're really we're trying to pick up anything we can find that works with our time zone, but we're all just settling back in after the semester, just working on this album.
Okay, superb. So we'll go around, starting with Max. What's the best bit of musical advice you've been given?
I had a music teacher. It was in high school. And honestly, I feel like it's a really like dumb piece of advice, but it's a saying that I say all the time. It's if it sounds good, it is good. Because I've had people who are like really into music theory. It's like, oh, you can't do that. You break the rules. Sounds great. I don't know what you're talking about. So if it sounds good, it is good. Just let it go.
Brilliant. What about you, Rees?
I think it would be less is better. I learned that from my teacher. I took a music theory class at MSU, and he was always saying how the Eagles, they used like the perfect amount of notes. It wasn't too much. It wasn't like it was just perfect. It was less is more at certain times. And I really try to make that in my playing. It's hard. It really is hard, but that's probably the best piece of advice I've got. For sure.
Jason.
I mean, I like Max said, I live by if it sounds good, it is good. As a sound engineer, that's something that I've always lived by. You see people go a little bit too crazy with things. But I also like, you know, when thinking about music is quality over quantity. A lot of times I see, you know, these artists just, you know, they're releasing too much. It seems like they're not really, you know, picking the best from their cuts. They're kind of showing everyone a little bit too much. And, you know, sometimes we all write bad music. And not everyone has to hear that stuff. So, you know, kind of
stay as a demo.
Yeah, make sure things are quality before we're sending it out there. Because once it's on the internet, it stays regardless.
It's there,
yeah. Okay, right. Final question, guys. We'll start with Max. It's a bit fair advantage for Max on this because we're unfair because Jason and Rees get a chance to have a think. All right. So Max, is there anybody you would like to thank for you being here musically now?
I would say probably my great grandpa that I've never met. He was, I guess that's where I get my musical ability because my parents are both not musically inclined at all. So I'd like to thank him for being a polka star in Poland.
Nice.
So, yeah. Grandpa Shabilski, thank you.
Brilliant. Okay, let's go with Jason.
I would say both my parents. You know, without their support, you know, in all angles of life, I wouldn't have even the time to pick up an instrument. So, you know, them giving me support gives me time to really focus on my music and even, you know, go to school for a career based around music and audio. Yeah, it's all thanks to them.
Brilliant. Rees.
I have to thank YouTube. I learned on YouTube. Like I learned how to play guitar. Like I learned how to love my life because of learning music on YouTube. But if I had to name a person, my grandma, because she bought me my first acoustic. That was really nice of her because my mom sold it, the other one. So yeah.
Superb. Guys, look, thanks for giving me the time and the interview. Absolutely fascinating. Brilliant stuff.
Thank you so much,
Thank
Craig.
you. Thank you for having us.
And I hope that everything goes right for you on the Friday releases and gigs and everything. All right.
Thank you very much.
All right. Take care, guys.
Take care.